Okay. So we're back. Right? Now, as I told you, we did the reading, right? So now we're gonna go and explore some of the things that was said within, that book. So we're just gonna go to the preface first, right? Let me go over here to the desktop. Right. And in the prefix, we're not going to read everything. It's just going to highlight what we're going to go through is highlighted, right? That it's a religious philosophy or a system of religious science, right? That was revived in its present outward form in 1777, right? So, this is what we're going to be focusing on in this section. All right, let's, matter of fact, I can just slide over to here. All right. So, as you know, the title is The Master's Carpet. That's the book we're reading from. Now, I'm giving you, Freemasonry and the Druze, like how it's all one thing. And I'm giving you the breakdown of the religious science movement. So, right here, we go to religious science movement. I'm sorry if I'm in the way. Um, I just wanted to make sure that this could be seen. So let me see if I can actually break it down some. Slide over here. Just to make sure that you could see it really. You know what I mean? I just want to make sure. I don't like offering information and not have the person be able to see it on their own, not something that I'm providing, some books that I wrote or something like that, right? Okay. So it says the religious science movement or science of mind was established in 1927 by Ernest Holmes, right? He lived from 1871 to 1960 and is a spiritual, philosophical, and metaphysical religious movement within the New Thought movement. So this is just a tentacle of it, right? Ernest Holmes was an American New Thought writer, teacher, and leader. He was the founder of a spiritual movement known as religious science, right? Part of the greater New Thought movement, whose spiritual philosophy is known as the science of mind. He was the author of Science of Mind and numerous other metaphysical books, and the founder of Science of Mind magazine. And in continuous publication since 1927. His book remains in print, and the principles he taught as Science of Mind was inspired influence no have inspired influenced many generations of metaphysical students and teachers. Holmes had previously studied a another New Thought teaching, divine science, and was and also obtained the sign divine science and was an or my fault and was an ordained divine science minister. So that's why I like to make sure that y'all can see this stuff. So, even if I say it wrong, you get it right. Don't just take me saying it and whatnot. His influence beyond New Thought can be seen in self help movements. In general, the term science of mind applies to the teaching, while the term religious science applies to the organizations. However, adherents often use the term interchangeably, right? So, in his book, Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes states religious science is a correlation of laws of science opinions and philosophies and revelations of religion applied to human need and the appreciation, aspiration of man. He also stated that religious science slash science of mind, RS, slash SMO is not based on any authority of established beliefs, but rather on what it can accomplish for the people who practice it. Today, the International Center of Spiritual Living, the United Center of Spiritual Living, which combined it into the Centers of Spiritual Living in 2011. So know that this is still, going strong. And global religious science ministries are the main denominations promoting religious science. All right. So then we got New Thought. The New Thought movement, also Higher Thought, is a spiritual movement which conciliates in the United States in the early 19th century. New Thought was preceded by Ancient Thought, accumulated wisdom and philosophies from a variety of origins, such as ancient Greek, Rome, Roman, Egyptian, Chinese, Taoist, Vedic, Hindus, and Buddhist cultures and their related belief systems, primarily regarding the interactions between thought, belief, consciousness, and the human mind, and the effects of those within and beyond the human mind. Though no direct line of transmission is traceable, many adherents to New Thought in the 20th century claim to be direct descendants from this system. Although there have been many leaders and various offshoots to the New Thought philosophy, the origins of New Thought have been traced to Phileas Quimby, right? Or even as far back as Frank Mesmer. Now, as we know, I did a whole series on mesmerism and hypnotism. So this system goes back to him. This system that you in its new form. But remember when James Braid said no, it wouldn't be right to call it mesmerism because this system goes back before him, right? And so that's when they came up with the clinical term of hypnotism. So understand that this same system is still all connected. Many of these groups are incorporated into the International New Thought Alliance, right? The contemporary New Thought movement is loosely allied with the religious denominations, authors, philosophers, and individuals who share a set belief concerning metaphysics, positive thinking, and the law of attraction, healing, life force, creative visualization, and personal power. Right? So, New Thought holds that infinite intelligence or God is everywhere. Spirit is the totality of real things. So, think about the spiritual movement and the woke community, and this is where they are getting this from. True human selfishness is divine. Divine thought is a force of good. Sickness orientated divine thought and the force. of good. Sickness originates in the mind. This is what they telling you. And right thinking has a healing effect, although new thoughts is neither monolithic or doctrinary. Right? In general, modern day adherents of new thoughts share some core beliefs. Right? This is one. God or infinite intelligence is supreme, universal, and everlasting, right? And then so in this case, I can say, okay, me, having the intelligence to figure this system out, right? I would fall, God came through me and is telling me to reveal this to the people because this system is corrupted, right? Divinity dwells within each person. It's taught too that all people are spiritual beings. Three, the highest spiritual principle is loving one another unconditionally and teaching and healing one another. And four, our mental states are carried forward into manifestation. Think of these words that you hear and become our experience in daily living. So if you understand the double talk and everything that you hear coming from, the woke community manifestation and all of that, you understand that this is all part of that system. William James used the term New Thought as synonymous with the mind cure movement, in which he included many sects with diverse origins, such as idealism and Hinduism. Right, so then we're gonna look at the Druze real quick, right? As you know, we're gonna stop there, but we're gonna show you this similarity. Druze are a member of an Arabic-speaking esoteric Ethiopian religious group originated in West Asia. He who adheres to faith that originally developed out of Ishmael Islam, although most Druze do not identify as Muslims. They practice Judaism, an Aramaic monolithic, Socratic, and ethic religion based on the teachings of Hamza ibn Ali bin Ahmed and Greek philosophy like Plato, Aristotle, and others. Adherent of Druze religion is called the people of monotheism, right? The Espital of wisdom is the foundation and central context of the Druze faith. The Druze faith incorporates elements of Islam, Christianity, Genotexicism, Neopolyism, right, Buddhism, Hinduism, and other philosophies and belief, creating a distinct and secretive theology, right, based on an esoteric interpretation of scripture, which emphasizes the role of the mind and truthfulness, right? Druze believe that in theophany and in reincarnation, Druze believe I just saying that again. Okay, Druze believe that the end of the cycle of birth, which achieves through successive reincarnation, the soul is united with the cosmic mind. Right? Now we're gonna look at, this is still dealing with the Druze, the initiates and ignorant members. Right? So we see, this is a Drew. You see right here, he got his fez on. Right? Understand this. Right? The Druze do not recognize any religious hierarchy. Right? Understand that. As such, there is no Druze clergies, right? Let me see over here. I could probably do better like this. See right there, clergies, right? Those few initiated into the Druze holy book are called. I'm not even gonna say. I don't know. You see it right there, right? Okay. Let me see right here, right? Let me see. Pardon me. Whatever, man. Right there, man. All right. And I'm trying to do it this way. I probably do it. I don't know why it's not easier to figure that out. But anyway, right there. All right. While the ignorant, right, the Druze clergy, for those initiated, the holy book is called, Kun Uquel, while the ignorant regular members of the group were called Jahel, right? Given a strict religious, intellectual, and spiritual requirement, most of the Jews are not initiated and might be referred to as, right, al Jahil, literally the ignorant. So the people who are being indoctrinated into this, they won't know. So all of those Masonic groups that you see, right, that I pointed out, whether through the gangs and all of these different organizations, they are ignorant to what they are being indoctrinated into. And since they set this, where it's break off in all of these places, you wouldn't realize what is really happening. But in practice, referring to the non-initiate Jews, however, right, so that means that even those who are the ignorant within it, they'll refer to those out of it as the ignorant, not realizing that they are the ignorant as well, right? Druze. However, the term is seldom used by the Druze. Those Jews are not granted access to the Druze holy literature or allowed to attend the initiated religious meetings of the Uquel. The Juhal are the vast majority of the Druze community, so majority of them are ignorant, right? And the cohesiveness and frequent inter community social interactions, however, enabled most Jews to have an idea about their broad ethical requirements and have some sense of what their theology consists of, albeit flawed, right? The initiates, see, so that means that even those who are in this, they might have a belief of what they know, but in reality, they don't even know, right? Because they're not privy to all of this information. The initiated religious groups, which include both men and women, less than 10% of the population, right? So remember, we hear even the 5% say, the 10%, right? And so less than 10% of the population is called Al Kail, right? The knowledgeable initiates. They might or might not dress differently, although most wear costumes that are characteristics of mountain people, right? So costumes, so when you see, these groups, the Moors or any of these groups, understand, you know, that you are, being indoctrinated into this system, right? In previous centuries, women can opt to wear our mandil, a loose white veil, especially in the presence of other people. To wear almadine in their heads to cover their hair and wrap it around their mouths. They wear black shirts and long skirts covering their legs to their ankles. Male Akil often grow mustaches and wear dark Levant Turkish traditional dresses. Remember, the Turks are white, all right? Turkish dresses called Sirwal, with white turbans that vary according to the seniority of the Unkel. Right? Traditionally, the Druze women have played an important role for and both socially and religiously inside the community. We're going to get into this in this section right here. So pay attention, because remember, this is why, even the Fatimids, Muslims, and this is the women, had a problem with these people, especially, they're saying that, the women should be enslaved, the men should be killed, the women should be enslaved, right? Have equal, Al Qaeda have equal rights and Al Jahul, but establish a hierarchy of respects based on religious service. The most influential of Al Qaeda become Al Jaweed, right? Recognized religious leaders. And from this group of spiritual leaders of the Druze are assigned, while the Sheikah Al Akul, I don't know this stuff, which is often officially positioned in Syria, Lebanon, and Israel, is elected by the local community and serves as the head of the Druze Religious Council. Judges from the Druze religious courts are usually elected for the position. Unlike the spiritual leaders, the authority of the Shakir outright is limited to the country he is elected in, though in some instances spiritual leaders are elected to this position. Right? The Druze believe in the unity of God and are often known as the people of monotheism, or simply monotheist. In theory, their theory has a Platonic, right, from Pluto, view about how God interacts with the world through emanations, and is similar to the Gnostic and other esoteric sects. Druze philosophy also show Sufi influence. Right? Druze principle focus on honesty, loyalty, Philian piety, Austrian, right, patriotic sacrifice, and monotheism. They reject nicotine, alcohol, and other drugs, and often the consumption of pork. Often, right? To those I'll kill, and not necessarily to be required by the Jahal, right? Druze reject polygamy, believe in reincarnation, and are not obliged to observe most of the religious rituals. Druze believe that rituals are symbolic and have individualistic effects on the person, for which reason Druze are free to perform them or not. The community does celebrate Eid, that's like at the end of Ramadan, right? I hear, I don't know how to pronounce, I know Eid, right? However, considered their most significant holidays through forms of observation is different compared to that of most Muslims. Right. So then we get an overview. Now we're back into the original part, right? And so then it goes, this is describe the new thought. So now we're back in new thought, right? For the sake of having a brief designation, I will give the title of Mind Cure Movement. There are various sects of the new thought and to use another of the names by which it calls itself. But their agreements are so profound that their differences may be neglected for my present purpose, and I will treat the movement without apology as if it were a simple thing. But it's not. Right. That's why I told you can have these different organizations and they could have different beliefs, but their core understanding is universal. Right. It is an optimistic scheme of life, both a speculative and practical side. Now we know about operative and speculative Freemasons, right? In its gradual development during the last quarter of a century, it has taken up into itself a number of contributor elements, and it's must now, be reckoned with as genuine religious power, right? Um, Religious powers. It has reached the stage, for example, when the demand of its lectures is great enough to insecure insecure stuff for insecure my fault stuff mechanically produced for the market to be to a certain extent supplied by publishers, a phenomenon never observed. I imagine until a religion has gotten well past its early insecure beginnings. So it stays underground while it's building up. They putting out their literature and all those things and all of these different groups until it becomes until it's bold enough to reveal itself, in this case, Satanism, right? One of the doctoral sources of mind cure is the four gospels. Another, the Emeritism, right? Or New England transcendentism. Another is the Berkshire idealism, and another is spiritualism. Forgive me if I got all of that wrong up there. With its message of law, progress, and development, another, the optimistic popular science of evolutionism, in which I have recently spoken, and finally, Hinduism, right, has contributed a strain. But the most characteristic feature of the mind cure movement is an inspiration much more direct. The leader of this faith have had an intuitive belief in the all-saving power of healthy mind attitude as such, and the conquering efficiency of courage, hope, and trust, and a collective contempt for doubt, fear, worry, and all nervous precautionary states of mind. Their belief has a general way of corroborated by the practical experience of their disciples. And this experience forms today a mass imposing amount. Now, just pay attention to the today and remember how I showed you in let's go back to this book right here real quick. Forgive me. It should be. I know I highlighted it for you. Like I said, I already did this book, so I didn't. I went through it, so forgive me. Um, if I don't, it's in there, right? I'll go through it again if need be, because I really don't want to go past this because I have stuff that it don't matter. I'll be doing that in the background anyway. Um, I'm looking for the 2 day. As you can see, the spelling, right, of the way that it's used in the same fashion, right? And that's how I actually came across a lot of information just by understanding the delivery of stuff. You know, like the way something is given to you, take the time to look into that and you'll actually come across so much things. I'll just get to it later. Let me just bring this back up here. All right. Um, Matter of fact, I can go into my page list. Um, it's too small for me to see though. All right. Nonetheless, let me just close this up. All right. Um, bring this back over here. All right. Let's bring this back up. Okay. New Thought Movement. History and origin. Did I complete that up there? Has been collaborated. Oh yeah, today and mass imposing in amount, right? Mass imposing. So they'll bombard you with this, beat you in the head and all of that till this becomes your reality, right? The New Thought movement is based on the teachings of Phineas Quimby, 1802 to 1866, an American mesmerist, right? Remember we talked about mesmerism and hypnotism in healer, right? Quimby had developed a belief system that included the tenet that illness originated in the mind as consequence to erroneous beliefs and that the mind opens to God's wisdom could overcome any illness. These are quack doctors, okay? His basic premise was the trouble is in the mind, for the body is only the house for the mind to dwell in. Therefore, if your mind has been deceived by some invisible enemy into a belief, right? The troubled mind is the mind, for the body is only the house of the mind that dwells in. Therefore, right, if the mind has been deceived by some invisible enemy into a belief, trick knowledge, right? You have put it into the form of a disease with or without your knowledge, right? Hypnotism, mesmerism. By my theory or truth, I can I come in contact with your enemy. So he's basically, your savior. By my theory of truth, I come in contact with your enemy, right? By my theory or truth, I come in contact with your enemy and restore you to health and happiness. This I do partly mentally and partly by taking till I correct the wrong impression and establish the truth. The truth is the cure. During the late 19th century, the metaphysical healing practices of Quimby mingled with the mental source of Warren Feld Evans, Rice Swintenbergen, and Mary Baker Eddy. We're going to get into her, the founder of Christian Science. Some has sometimes been cited as having used Quimby as inspiration for theology. Edie was a patient of Quimby and shared his view with diseases is rooted in a mental cause. Because of its theism, Christian Science differed from the teachings of Quimby. In the late 19th century, pay mind to that though, right? Christian Science, right? In the late 19th century, new thoughts were propelled by by a number of spiritual thinkers and philosophies, and emerged through a variety of religious denominations and churches, particularly in the United Church and Church of Divine Science, right? So remember the initiations and the things and all of these churches that are being set up. Understand that this system has been around for a very long time. It just took time for them to switch over. Established in 1889 and 1888, respectively, followed by religious science established in 1927. Many of its early teachers and students were women. Many of his early teachers, and remember what the Druze said, and remember what Islam, Fatimism, had stated about this. Notably, among the founders of the movement were Emma Curtis Hopkins, known as the teacher of teachers, Myrtle Fillmore, Melinda Kramer, and Nona L. Brooks, with many of his churches and community centers led by women. Remember, we went into demonology. We went into, and this is dealing with, the Scottish Rite and King James, and how he, the discovery of demonology, witchcraft, the witchcraft trials, and understanding King Solomon's temple is the womb, is the woman. So from this system, right, that's why you see the cable toes and all of that. Those are the umbilical cords of the woman. So you are bounded by this system, right? And so these are the teachers who forced you to go to church and all of that to begin with, so they can push their agenda upon you, right? The pastors and all of that were just saying what she was promoting, growth. Also, see also list of New Thoughts writers. New Thoughts writers is also largely a movement of the printed word, right? This is suggestion. Mulford, though writing your force through writing your force and how to use them, a series of essays published during 1886 through 1892 was pivotal in the development of New Thought thinking, including the law of attraction, right? In 1908, William Walker Atkinson, 1868 to 1932, wrote and published through vibrations, thought vibrations, and the law of attraction in the thought world, right? So understand this. When you see this, understand what you are participating in, the vibration, high vibrations. This is all coming from that system, right? Atkinson was the editor in New Thought magazine and the author of more than 100 books and an assortment of religious, spiritual, and occult topics. The following year, Elizabeth Town, the editor of The Nucleus published Bruce McLennan book Positive Thought Through Force, in which he summarized the law of attraction as a new thought principle, stating you are what you think, not what you think you are. And you'll hear a lot of these people regurgitate this stuff. These magazines were used to reach a large audience, right? Then, as others are now, Nutrius magazine, for example, had 45,000 subscribers and a total calculation of 150,000. The United Church magazine, We Wisdom, was the longest lived children's magazine in the United States, published from 1893 until 1991. Today, New Thought magazines include Daily Word, right? Published by the Unity and the Religious Science magazine. This and Science of Mind, published by the Center of Spiritual Living. Major gatherings. In 1951, International New Thought Alliance INTA conference held in conjunction with the Panama Pacific International Exposition, a world fair, so then they can make sure it goes out, that took place in San Francisco. Featured New Thought speakers from far and wide, right? And remember, San Francisco, California is considered a progressive state. And look where that's at, right? That took place and featured New Thought speakers from far and wide. The PPIE organizers were so impressed by the INTA convention that they declared a special New Thought Day at the fair and struck a commemorative bronze medal for the occasion, right? Which was presented to the INTA delegates led by Annie Ricks Millets, right? By 1916, the International New Thought Alliance had encompassed many smaller groups around the world, adapting a creed known as the Declaration of Principles. The alliance is held together by one central teaching. The people, through the constructive use of their minds, can attain freedom, power, health, prosperity, and all good, molding their bodies as well as the circumstances in their life. The Declaration was revived in 1957 with all references to Christianity removed. Right? And a new statement based on inspirable oneness with God and man. So we understand that Christians removed Jesus. We understand the whole J wasn't around and all of that. So, and we understand that even from King James, if you watch that, you will understand this system was brewed out of to destroy one, the Roman Catholic Church, right? Beliefs. The chief tenet in the New Thoughts are infinite intelligence, or God is omnipotent and omnipresent. Spirit is the ultimate reality. True human selfhood is divine, divinely attuned thought is a positive force for good. All diseases is mental in origin. Right thinking has a healing effect, right? Evolution of thought. And Hayden's also generally believe that as mankind gains greater understanding of the world, new thoughts itself will evolve and assimilate new knowledge. Alan Anderson and Deb Whitehouse have described new thought as a process in which each individual and even the new thought movement itself is new every moment, right? Thomas McFull has claimed continuous revelations, with new insight being received by individuals continuously over time. Gene Houston has spoken of a possible human, or what we are capable of becoming, right? The theological inconclusism, right? The home of truth has, from its inception as a Pacific Coast metaphysical bureau in the 1880s, under the leadership of Annie Ricks Milsitz, disseminated the teachings of the Hindu teacher Swami, whatever his name is. It is one of the more outspoken interfaith or New Thought organization, stating adherence to the principle of truth is truth wherever it is found and whoever is sharing it. So then you shouldn't be mad at me for sharing this truth, whoever I am and whatever, it is coming from, right? Wherever Joe, whoever is sharing it, Joe G. Goldsmith, the Infinite Way incorporated teachings from Christian Science as well. Therapeutic ideas, right? Divine Science, Unity Church, and religious science, or organizations that developed from the New Thought movement. Each teaches that infinite intelligence or God is the sole reality. Remember when we were saying about the Druidisms, okay? New Thought adherents believe that sickness is the result of the failure to realize the truth. In this line of thinking, healing is accomplished by the affirmations of oneness with the infinite intelligence or God. John Bovey Dodd, 1795 to 1865, an early practitioner of New Thought, wrote several books on the idea of disease originating. Let me see something here. Probably could push this over some more. Right? Okay. Oh, no, it's right on the borderline there. Hold on. See, I'm messing around here. Right? Okay. Where we at? Healing is accomplished by the affirmation of oneness with the infinity intelligence of God. John Bovey Dodd, 1795 to 1862, an early practitioner of New Thought, wrote several books on the idea that disease originated in the electrical impulse of the nervous system and is therefore curable by a change of belief. Later New Thought teachers, such as early 20th century author, editor, and publisher William Walker Atkinson, accepted the premise. He connected his idea of mental state of being with his understanding of the new scientific discovery and electromagnetics and neural processes. Criticism. While the belief while the beliefs that are held by practitioners of the New Thought movement are similar to many mainstream religious doctrines, there have been concerns raised among scholars and scientists about some of the views surrounding health and wellness that are perpetrated in the New Thought movement. Most pressing is the New Thought movement rejection of empirically supported scientific theory of the cause of diseases. A scientific medicine In scientific medicine, diseases can be a wide range of physical causes, from abnormalities in genes to in cell growth that cause cancer, and viruses, bacteria, and fungi that cause infection, to environmental toxins that can damage entire organ systems. While it has been empirically supported that the psychological and social health of a person can influence their susceptibility to diseases, you know, i.e., e.g., stress, to suppress immune functions such as increased risk of infection. Critics allege that mental states do not cause the human disease, or is claimed to be new thought. Um, allege that mental states are not the cause of human disease, as is claimed by the New Thought movement. Equally concerning, critics argue that the New Thought movement emphasizes on using faith in mental state as treatment of all human diseases. While it has been supported that the use of relaxation therapy and other forms of alternative health practices are beneficial to improving the overall well-being of patients with a wide variety of mental and physical health conditions, cancer, post-traumatic stress disorder, these practices are not effective in treating human diseases alone, and should be undertaken in conjunction with modern medical therapy that have imperialistic so empirical support. This rejection of scientific supported theories of disease and diseases treatment is worsened by the New Thought movement, asserted that mental states, attitudes, and faith in New Thought are the sole determinants of health. The New Thought movement has received criticism akin to the levied against the holistic health movement, that in claiming that sickness is caused by a person's attitude, mental states, and faith. It is easy to place blame on patients for not adopting the correct attitude, thought process, in or life. Blame can have powerful psychological effects. The stress and isolation seen in victim blaming being the largest issue that arises in most concerning terms of effects in patients' health. Further, Holdings believes that health and disease is controlled by faith in a higher power can create an external locus of control, i.e., believers that feel as though they themselves cannot prevent disease, and that any illness or disorder that they encounter is an act of the higher power's will. This external locus of control can create learned helplessness in believers that have been shown to exuberate mental and physical health conditions via several mechanisms, including reduced incidence of help seeking behavior. Overall, the New Thought movement position on the etiology and treatment of disease is not empirically supported. Basically, um, you have a system that's one convincing the people of today. It's while it's taking you from an understanding of religious and all of that, and you got the Jehovah Witnesses, no surgeries, and these type of people, right? Because everything is mental. So now, while you are creating this system, right, you also setting up for a future religion, because now you again taking it out of their hands, Jehovah Witness, and saying this is God's will, right? So you are countering any man-made thing, while at one point you're pulling people in away from religion because you're taking them from Christianity, while setting them up for Satanism or whatever name you might come across, right? Movement asserted to mental states, attitude. Where we at here? Um, this rejection of scientific support theory and disease. Am I? Ethical concerns. While being supported. Well, yeah, I read that. Um, New Thought movement has received criticism. Okay, yeah, movement. Right. So now we are to movement. New Thought publishing and educational activity reach approximately 2.5 million people annually. The largest New Thought orientated demonstration is the Japanese, right? See, well, I'm not even going to do it to myself. All right, you see it right there. Right? Okay, so that's what you see. Other belief systems within the New Thought movement include Jewish science, religious science, center of spiritual living, and unity. Past denominations have included Saichiana and Father Divine. We'll get into, Father Divine. That's why I highlighted that. We will be getting back to him. Religious science operates under the main organization, the Center of Spiritual Living, the affiliated New Thought Network, the Global Religious Science Ministries. Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, stated that religious science is not based on any authority, right, of established belief, but rather on what it can accomplish for the people who practice it. The Science of Mind, authorized by Ernest Holmes, while based on a philosophy of being open at the top, focused extensively on the teachings of Jesus Christ. Unity, founded by Charles Myrtle Fillmore, identifies itself as Christian New Thought. Right, so Jesus Christ Unity, founded by Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, identifies itself as Christian New Thought, focusing on Christian idealism with the Bible as one of its main texts, although not interpreted literally, right? And the other core text is Lessons in Truth by H. Emily Caddy, The Universal Foundation for Better Living, or UFBL, was founded in 1974 by Johnny Coleman in Chicago, Illinois, after breaking away from the Unity Church for blatant racism, right? So, also see this stuff right here, right? Boom, boom, boom. I'm at the end of this. I just wanted y'all to, get a look at this. Try to go slow. So if you want to look it up yourself, you can. Some of this stuff I will be getting into. Some of it is just it's like it's just repetitive. You know what I mean? So I don't want to just keep hitting you with the same thing. So I'm gonna end this right here. I hope this was useful towards you, right? Um, right. Let me come here, bring it back to the chop, so I can go right back to the chop. Right. So, we're gonna conclude this, right? This is the Master's Carpet, Freemasonry, the Druze, and Religious Science Movement. I'm still going to do subsections for all of this stuff that you've seen highlighted as we go on. Some of the highlight stuff has been addressed here, but others we will be doing side information on, and I'm going to have them in open fields, but I'm going to also include them into, this section as well. All right, peace, people. I hope you get something. Resistance, resistance, resistance.